You're listening to the Chad Hasty Show on demand. Good for you. Now download the KFYO app and listen live weekday afternoons 5 to 7 p.m. Central.
Broadcasting from the great state of Texas, this is the Chad Hasty Show. News and views with a Lone Star perspective. You can sound off during the show by sending Chad a text at 806-680-2790. That's 806-680-2790. Or call in at 1-800-687-0790. Now, here's Chad Hasty.
Lubbock, Amarillo, Abilene, Wichita Falls, Midland, Odessa, Dallas, Fort Worth, down in Houston, over in El Paso, and anywhere else, inside or outside the great state of Texas, wherever you may be listening on this Monday, August 5th, 2024. Welcome into the program. Glad that you have joined us on this Monday evening. As today's supposed to be like one of the coolest days of the week throughout the state. It's supposed to be the hottest week this year in Texas. Like temperatures around 105 degrees, 109 in Abilene later this week, like on Wednesday, maybe Thursday. And then temperatures, the real feel supposed to be above 110 in some areas of the state. So it's going to be a hot one. Welcome to summer. it's still, even though you've got kids who are going to be going back to school soon, you've got preseason NFL football on TV. You've got what maybe feels like, at least just in your mind, oh, we're getting closer. We're going to the store and we're seeing Halloween items out. Yeah, it's still summertime in Texas, and that means it's going to be hot for at least a little bit longer. We're going to have these blazing hot temperatures sticking around. We've got a great show planned for you this evening. We're going to get into what's happening internationally. If you've been paying any attention whatsoever to international news, you know that there's at least you've got a lot of folks worried that Iran may strike Israel. We're going to visit with Harry Kazianis, our good friend of the program, a little bit later on in the program at 5:35 to get his thoughts on the international community, where we stand right now. A headline that came out just about a couple of hours ago: Delta will be suspending all flights from New York City to Tel Aviv for the remainder of August amid growing fears of a regional conflict between Israel and Iran. The announcement extending a previous suspension that began last week. Sales of all flights between New York's JFK and Tel Aviv this month have been halted. Let's see. Any customers with tickets on affected flights will be issued a travel waiver. Delta, quote, is continuously monitoring the evolving security environment and assessing their operations based on security guidance and intelligence reports, and will communicate updates as needed. United Airlines also pausing flights to Tel Aviv until, quote, further notice. So that is the latest there. We'll get what may actually happen with Harry Kazianis coming up a little bit later on. But there are a lot of folks I know. I've gotten just a ton of emails and people asking, are we going to see World War III at some point? You've got the candidates talking about what's going to happen if Kamala Harris wins the election and you have a continued weak United States. what's going to happen if Trump wins. I mean, there's a whole lot of different scenarios to get through, and we'll visit with Harry Kazianis coming up at 5:35 on that issue. We've also got the economy to talk about. The not a very good day for the stock market. Not a very. It's a lot of people worried about a recession. A lot of people worried about the stock market crash. We'll talk about that on the program today. We've got local headlines to get into, a lot of 2024 news as well to talk about, and of course, whatever you want to talk about on the phones, on the text line as well. Oh, we've got some interesting audio that we'll be playing today, including Nancy Pelosi saying that Joe Biden, he's a Mount Rushmore type of president. Think about that for a little bit. Think about that. No. That doesn't mean that he has rocks for brains. No. That he's just as great as the presidents that are on Mount Rushmore would be. Even Leslie Stahl went, Lincoln, Biden, really, Abraham Lincoln. Joe Biden belongs on Mount Rushmore? Really? Like, we've had a lot of other presidents since since Mount Rushmore has been done, and you want to put Biden up on Mount Rushmore? No, I don't think so. Even she wasn't buying it from Nancy Pelosi. Maybe Nancy's losing it even more than what we thought. So we've got that to get into, and Kamala Harris, some new audio of her talking about how great it is to be woke. Yeah, so we have that to play as well. So we've just got a whole bunch of stuff that we're going to be getting into. We want to hear from you, get your opinion on all the issues, all the news of the day. You can text in at 806-680-2790. That's 806-680-2790. You can also, when you do text in, we want to know your name, where you're listening from as well. Whenever you do text in, you can call us at 1-800-687-0790. That's 1-800-687-0790. When you give us a call, the first voice you hear from, he's a guy who he got a nice haircut today. He got a haircut. He got a beard trim. He's living his best life during his birthday week. Nick, the first voice you hear from when you dial in today. Nick, how are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
Feeling refreshed.
Yes.
Today.
Yeah.
You know, it's always good. I let the hair go a little too long.
Yeah.
And so it always feels good when you get the breeze.
Yeah.
You feel that.
Yeah. You've got a nice different style going on today.
So the original style that I normally do every single day.
Yeah.
I decided maybe it's best not to do that.
Okay.
When someone's gonna be moving around my hair and cutting it, because I put stuff in my hair.
Sure.
So I don't, it's just an extra step for them. It's just easier. I show up with a blank canvas.
Yes.
And they can work their magic.
Yes.
And do what they do.
Yeah.
And they did a good job, I think. So
yeah. It looks
I'm feeling good.
You don't have the
rat tail.
The rat tail in the back anymore that just spins every now and then. It's a very odd, I don't know if a breeze goes through the production room back there or what.
Well, I do have I have a little mini fan.
Yeah.
They don't they don't lock us in here most of the time with nothing.
Right.
So we do have a little fan in here. But you're right. It is interestingly positioned.
Yeah.
Where it's sort of diagonally behind me.
Yes.
So you're right. When it does blow its breeze,
Sometimes
I get a little tuft. I try to take off with my little propeller every once in a while, but not anymore.
No.
Not for a while at least.
The beard looks good. They did a nice little beard trim. I mean, look. I mean, you're obviously getting ready for your big birthday. That's coming up.
That's it. Yeah.
You've got a big birthday celebration planned.
Got to look fresh for the two people that I'm going to spend half the day with.
Oh, well, you got people up here that you'll be seeing as well. Don't forget about that.
You're right. I will. But can you really count coworkers as visits on your birthday when you have to work? I think that's just sort of a thing that happens. You don't really plan on that.
I mean, it depends on if they say happy birthday
That's
to
true.
you.
That's true.
They may just go about their day and not know
Right.
that it's your birthday.
Yeah, we're not friends anymore if that's
And
if that happens.
it's later on in the week. It's not today. It is. It's later. So people texting in, happy birthday. No,
I reject those.
He's
until
got a couple of days to go. He's got a
They mean
couple of
nothing
days.
until then.
Yeah, exactly. A couple of days to go. But yeah, if people stop by and they say, "Hey, Nick, happy birthday," I think you can count that as people who,
Sure.
were nice enough to reach out.
Right. And I'm really not one for parties. To me, I feel weird about having a birthday party when you're over 13.
Sure.
It's just something about. Nothing against. Having said that, nothing against it. If that's what if you have an annual thing that you do with friends and family, that's cool. But just
a lot
personal.
of people do go out, with friends and celebrate.
Right. And I think that's one thing. But it's to me, and this is strictly personally speaking.
Sure.
Going out with friends and going to a restaurant, going to dinner, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But when you something that I kind of veered away from is, hey, everybody, come to my house. With gifts and spoil me, and it's my birthday. We're going to do what I want, and I'm 33, but we're just going to have fun like we're 10.
Yeah.
That's not really
You're
something
not 33.
I'm not
Let's
33.
clarify
and
that.
I'm not turning 33.
Right.
But I'm just, for the sake of the example.
Let's clarify that. Now, I will say, there are people who will do something big for their 30th.
Sure.
Like a big... a big celebrate for their 30th, maybe the 40th, for the 50th. Some people just get sad. I don't know. They go and buy a new car, whatever.
Yeah. New haircut.
Yeah, a new haircut.
Yeah.
They go crazy.
That's it's funny you just brought that up. Over the weekend, in fact, a friend of mine just turned 30.
Yeah.
And we had it was very fun. Get together, a big group of people, and that's one thing. We all went to someone's house, and it was very reminiscent of a middle school birthday party.
Well, that's nice.
It's 30. The decades I think are a free pass.
Yeah.
If you get 20, 30, 40, I think you could kind of go all out for those types of things. But if I'm just not one for big parties.
Yeah. Well, you're not one for parties. We know that.
Right.
You're not one
I'm very
for
boring.
Ice cream sandwiches anymore.
No, the cookie cakes I'm not for.
Well, you're not for the ice cream sandwich. You said you were too old for the ice cream sandwiches.
I get sad when I see those.
Yeah. So you're not for the ice cream sandwich. You reject all cookie cakes because you say they're dry and no good.
That's true.
Which I had several people reach out to me who listened to the podcast and went, "What is he thinking?"
Yeah.
Yeah. Even today, I had someone reach out to me and go, that Nick, he's an interesting guy. He's an interesting guy. That's how they put it. And then they won't say anything else.
Right. That's it.
They just say that Nick is an interesting guy.
I would love if they end with like a ...
Yeah.
So it
they
just
kind of
really,
do. It drops off after. Yeah.
You can tell. You can tell the mood they were going for.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see. Robert, he's ignoring me and just wishing you a happy birthday.
Well, thank you. I appreciate
anyway, yes. Let's see. 21, 50, 75, and 100. Are the big ones according to another texter.
That's fair.
So go all out. Why not?
Yeah. Go all out at
let's
100.
see. Nick will invite 3 people to his house when he turns 50 or something.
Maybe we'll see. I don't know.
Did you have a good weekend?
I did.
Yeah.
I went to the birthday party, which was fun. Always nice to reminisce with old friends.
Yeah.
Us as we get older, it's always good to look.
Get older.
It's always good to look back and appreciate the friendships that you made along the way. But I bought a mini blender,
Watch
a little
out.
personal blender.
Nice.
Very big fan already.
Yeah.
I think it was a.
You were wondering how to get more fruits and vegetables into your life.
And hey,
mini blender.
I've found it out.
Yeah.
Many a smoothie I've had since then.
Look at that. We had a listener who suggested smoothies for life.
There it is. Very good smoothies, by the way. What I do is I put a scoop of almond butter. In there.
Yeah.
It's very
almond butter. Okay.
It's very strong. So if you're gonna do that, it's basically an almond butter smoothie, which is not bad. But a little variety would be nice. But still, you get your. I cut up an apple.
Yeah.
Maybe I do some spinach, some strawberries, bananas, everything. They're very good.
Yeah.
Delicious.
Nice. Very
Yeah,
nice.
so very good weekend.
I did some yard work.
Nice.
A little bit of yard work
I did too.
on Saturday. Did that, and then yesterday we went and saw Deadpool and Wolverine.
What did you think? I haven't seen it. I really want to see it.
Hilarious.
Really?
Not for everybody.
Okay.
It's not a movie.
I should bring my parents then.
I would not watch it with my mother. That I would tell you right now.
I won't bring your mom to the movie with me then.
I would not.
I won't do
Anyone's
that.
mom. I would not watch
okay.
it with anyone's mother or grandmother. Definitely like grandma.
Yeah.
I'm not bringing to that movie. No, but it was funny. I laughed. I thought it was
cry?
good. I did not cry,
Okay. All
but
right.
I did think it was very good and probably the best Marvel movie in a while.
Really?
Yeah, which is not saying much. It's been a low bar for the last few years. It's been a very low bar.
You mean Madam Crimson Web or whatever that one was that totally flopped? Wasn't you didn't think that was Madam Web?
Low bar for a lot of these movies.
I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I think
so
my fiance and I are gonna
I
go.
laughed at that. So yeah, y'all should go and see it.
We should. Yeah, I think we don't have a plan set, but hey, maybe birthday
Look
movie.
at that.
See, we're
A
setting
birthday
plans.
movie. There you have it.
That's the most plans already for my birthday. So
Texter saying that Nick needs a sweater birthday cake. I like that idea.
But that makes me. Is it like a cake on a sweater?
No, it's a cake that looks like a sweater.
Oh, so no fabric is touching a cake.
Why?
That's immediately what I thought. You're serving a birthday cake on a sweater, and then you get to keep the sweater. You got to wash it, but you get to keep the sweater.
Nick,
I think that's a fair trade. I would do it.
your first thought on birthday cake sweater was someone
birthday cake on a sweater.
someone put.
That is legitimately what I thought. Hey, it's not a bad idea.
You graduated from A&M, right?
Close. TTU, the old Texas Tech University.
Let's not
Yeah,
promote.
we need to
that.
advertise that.
No.
Just in
No,
case
I think we
lest
just-
anyone forget
Yeah.
where I came from.
You know, from Texas Tech, it's possible.
Ooh.
From there, it's possible.
See, that's a you're making a joke, but if someone doesn't know the slogan, that's a hard knock on Texas Tech.
806-680-2790. When we come back, we'll get to some of your text messages, your phone calls, and in the news of the day, and much more on the Chad Hasty Show.
The Chad Hasty Show can be heard all over West Texas, weekdays from 5 to 7 p.m. Tune in on News Talk 95.1 and 790 KFYO in Lubbock, News Talk 940 in Amarillo, News Talk 94.7 and 1470 KYYW in Abilene, and in Wichita Falls on News Talk 96.3 and 1290. The Chad Hasty Show. Make it a part of your drive home, weekdays from 5 to 7 p.m.
Clay Travis and Buck Sexton.
Tuesday edition, Clay Travis, Buck Sexton Show. Less than 3 months until the election is actually here. We probably are going to have a VP announced today, and we'll be able to break it all down for you. Plus, Buck.
The economy's gotten a little shaky under Biden. Is the free fall slowing down? Is the recovery happening? And how does this play out in that election we're talking about? That's coming up on Clay and Buck.
Clay Travis and Buck Sexton. Tomorrow morning at 11. Oh.
All right, welcome back to the Chad Hasty Show. Harry Kazianis coming up at 5:35. Texts are weighing in before the break from DW and Lubbock. Good afternoon, Chad. Feeling a bit frustrated today. Watching all this hype around Kamala has become nauseating. I'm really starting to think they should have a requirement that in order to vote, you must pass a basic civics test. It's like some of these voters have forgotten all about the last 3.5 years. Listen, I told everyone this was what's going to happen. You're going to see a lot of love for Kamala Harris. You've got to remember this also. 25% of people throughout the United States can hardly ever tell you who the vice president is. And not that many people blame the vice president for the president's mistakes. That's why it's incumbent on Donald Trump and on Republicans and on you and me and others to expose Kamala Harris for her policies and who she actually is. Again, the media is going to be the biggest cheerleader of Kamala Harris that we've ever seen. And they're going to talk about how she is historic. They're going to talk about how she could break barriers. They're going to talk about all of this, and they're not going to talk about policy. You don't have anyone other than Fox News in the national news media complaining that Kamala has yet to do a press conference, that Kamala has yet to do a sit-down, one-on-one interview since Joe Biden dropped out of the race. No one's complaining about that other than Fox. And it's because she's a teleprompter candidate. They're using the exact same playbook to get Kamala elected that they got Biden elected. Stay away from the media. Don't answer questions. We'll be right back.
Call in to the Chad Hasty Show at 1-800-687-0790. The Chad Hasty Show, broadcasting on the Texas Town Square Media Network.
My name is Corporal Bradley Joseph Seitz.
Jerry Reed.
Kate Weber.
These are real veterans facing a real challenge.
I have PTSD.
And I have PTSD.
I have PTSD.
Post-traumatic stress disorder can happen to anyone,
I was still in a war zone in my mind.
but treatment can turn your life around.
Treatment has really saved my life.
To learn about PTSD and how treatment can help you, call your local VA medical center or visit ptsd.va.gov.
The impact of a meal goes well beyond feeding our bodies, because feeling full can sound like this.
How did the interview go?
I did it! I got the job! I can't believe it!
And like this.
Mom, I got first place at the science fair with my volcano project.
That's amazing, sweetie. Congratulations.
Because when people are fed, futures are nourished, and everyone deserves to live a full life. Join the movement to end hunger at feedingamerica.org/act now. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
The news and talk of West Texas. News Talk 95.1 and 790 KFYO. Chad Hasty, talking the news. At the start, middle, and end of your drive home, and when news breaks. This is the Chad Hasty Show.
All right, welcome back to the Chad Hasty Show. Appreciate you being out there today. We'll get back to your text messages here in just a little bit, but if you haven't been paying attention to the international scene, there's a lot happening, particularly when it comes to the Middle East. That may or may not surprise anybody. Joining us to talk about it all, the Senior Director for the National Security Affairs at the Centers for National Interest. We've got our good friend Harry Kazianis back with us. Harry, it's been a while. How are you today?
It's been a minute. How are you?
Doing great. Appreciate you joining us. The main reason I wanted to have you on is because of what's going on, or what may be going on between Israel and Iran. The Jerusalem Post reporting that Iran has decided to attack Israel. Where are we, and how much more out of control can this thing get, you think?
Well, Chad, I think we're kind of into the unknown. I think what the Iranians are trying to decide is calibrate their attack in a way that maybe does a little bit of damage to Israel, but doesn't allow the Israelis to have any excuse to go in with all that big and bad American weaponry that we sold to them over the years and jointly developed to launch a bigger strike. And I think what Iran's trying to do is signal that it is tough, that it's not going to allow people to be assassinated on its home turf and its capital, but at the same time, not set off something like World War III. So I think for the Iranians, something is bigger coming than what they did in April. Keep in mind, Chad, they launched a pretty big drone strike at the time, but, telegraphed it in a way that everybody sort of knew it was coming. They leaked a lot of the details all throughout D.C. and Jerusalem and all over the place. So everybody had an idea and could defend against it. But I think now the Iranians are thinking about doing something a little bit bigger. And everybody's watching to see what that is. So we're going to have to watch together.
Is there and again, when you're talking about people's lives and innocent people, may get hurt or killed in this attack, what's the line for the Israelis where they go, this is too much of an attack, we're going all out now? That's what everybody fears is, these two, and then drawing the U.S. and then, everyone does fear World War III between these two nations.
Yeah, Chad, I think the line for Israel is very thin. Keep in mind, the Israelis do have some of the best missile defense technology built with the U.S. They have the Iron Dome rocket defense system. They now have U.S. naval assets off the coast with their missile defense platforms. We have drones. We have all sorts of things that can take these missiles out. However, the United States and Israel have to bat 1,000 and knock out every single missile and drone that comes to Israel. That's not going to be easy. Keep in mind, when you're talking about missile defense, it's one of the hardest things to pull off in military affairs. You're basically taking a bullet and hitting it with another bullet, and you need to have 100% accuracy or basically blow up your round right near that missile to throw it off course or destroy it. It's not easy to do. It's tough. So in a situation where Iran maybe lobs a couple hundred missiles at Israel, or maybe just a few with drones at the same time in some sort of swarm strike, there is a possibility that one of them will go through and hit a residential area in Tel Aviv or Jerusalem or something like that, and that will push the Israelis to want to respond. There will be outrage among the Israeli public to do something, and then the question is now we're looking at what is Israel going to do, and Israel could do a lot. Israel might decide, we don't want to live with Iran that has nuclear weapons, and go in with the full power of their Air Force and try to level all their nuclear facilities. And they have the power to do a lot of damage to do it. So these are the things that are sort of being decided in both Jerusalem and Tehran, and I have a feeling we're in for a rough ride.
I'm visiting with Harry Kazianis here on the Chad Hasty Show. How much influence does the United States have right now in all of this?
Tremendous influence. On both sides. The first thing we have to keep in mind is Israel would not be the military powerhouse that it is without U.S. weaponry, U.S. technology, subsidizing a lot of those military assets. Think about this, Chad. For the military geeks that are out there, Israel has the only custom F-35 stealth fighter in the world. That $1.5 trillion program that developed the most powerful jet ever in existence. It's literally a quarterback in the sky. And Israel has a custom version that they developed for the Middle East. They can't have those type of weapons without the United States. So the United States has the ability to kind of push and pull on Israel, to say, hey, maybe you're going to go a little too far doing this. Maybe you don't want to do that. Although I don't think the Israelis with, launching assassinations against Hezbollah and Hamas leaders lately has been listening too much. But they have every right to do that. What they've suffered through is horrendous. Iran, different situation. The United States has the ability to hit Iran with devastating sanctions, just like the Trump administration did. But the Biden administration keeps believing that they can somehow, bring Iran into the national fold and try to convert them into some sort of responsible stakeholder. I don't know, whatever term you want to use. And so far, I think that's failed.
Yeah. Well, and I just wonder with a lame duck president, Joe's obviously not running again. Kamala Harris is off and running, doing her deal. It seems like we're certainly a distracted nation going into an election just months away. We certainly seem distracted. And we have fires all over the place internationally, and then you still have to worry about China and what they may do. It seems like we're being very, very, very stretched when it comes to what the current administration can maybe have influence on.
I think you're right, and I think a lot of this is bad Biden policy in the Middle East, especially when it comes to Iran, Chad. I mean, you don't have to like Donald Trump to respect the fact that one of the best things he did in terms of foreign policy is to try to contain the Iranians' influence in the Middle East. And how he did it doesn't take a PhD from Princeton to figure this out. He restricted their oil sales dramatically. And that had the ability of weakening their economy dramatically, where they went into a massive recession during those years. They weren't able to sell oil to China and other countries. They weren't able to give terrorist dollars to Hamas, Hezbollah. They weren't able to buy a lot of the technology they were buying from North Korea in terms of missile technology. It had a lot of second and third order impacts that were very, very powerful. Joe Biden comes into office. He starts taking a lot of those sanctions off, trying to get another nuclear deal with the Iranians. Oh, and look what happens. The Middle East explodes. So, again, you might not have to not like Donald Trump, but a lot of these policies I think Americans are starting to think about and saying, my life was a lot better when it came to having Donald Trump in office, whether at home or abroad. And I think people are going to remember these things.
Yeah, with the airlines restricting, they're canceling flights to Tel Aviv. I mean, is that basically signaling an attack is pretty imminent if they're starting to cancel flights?
Yeah, I mean, the Iranians are basically trying to tell people that their airspace is going to be restricted. They don't want to see any other catastrophe. So I think a missile strike is coming. I think it's going to be a lot bigger than the last one. Could be missiles, could be drones, and it could even be Chad, a cyber strike all at the same time. So the Iranians can show sort of the full suite of their capabilities, that it's not just going to come from the air, that it can come from cyber, could be terrorist attacks. I mean, the Iranians, they don't have to be a superpower to do a lot of damage in the 21st century. That's for sure.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier that the last one was very much telegraphed. I mean, basically the whole world knew a drone attack was on its way. Cameras were set up in advance, showing that drones were being launched. I mean, it was very much dictated to everybody. Hey, here's what's going to happen. Do you think it'll be the same way this time, or will there be more of a surprise?
I think there will. I think the expert community is pretty decided that it is going to be a larger missile strike. What type of assets are going to be launched, how they're going to be launched, what other weapons they could use, like drones or cyber or terrorist attacks. Maybe a combination of all three could be possible. But I think everybody understands that the Iranians were very, very upset that a major Hamas leader was killed on their territory, in their capital, and they looked like they had no ability to stop it. So they're going to respond with something a lot bigger, that's for sure.
Yeah. Harry Kazianis, as always, appreciate your expertise, and thanks for giving us a call this evening. We appreciate it. We'll visit with you later on.
Thanks, my friend.
Thank you. That's Harry Kazianis. He's the National Security Affairs Senior Director over the Centers for National Interest. Great guy. Appreciate him joining us. We'll be right back.
Sometimes I feel I've got to run away. I've got to get away from the pain you drive.
The Titan of Texas Talk Radio, Chad Hasty.
Talking with newsmakers and about the issues that matter to you. The Chad Hasty Show, weekdays from 5 to 7 p.m. Chad's show is also digital with the Chad Hasty Show podcast. The Chad Hasty Show podcast can be downloaded on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, and the Radio On Demand page at KFYO.com. The Chad Hasty Show, all across Texas during your drive home, weekdays from 5 to 7 p.m.
Clay Travis and Buck Sexton.
Tuesday edition, Clay Travis, Buck Sexton Show. Less than 3 months until the election is actually here. We probably are going to have a VP announced today, and we'll be able to break it all down for you. Plus, Buck.
The economy's gotten a little shaky under Biden. Is the free fall slowing down? Is the recovery happening? And how does this play out in that election we're talking about? That's coming up on Clay and Buck.
Clay Travis and Buck Sexton, tomorrow morning at 11.
All right, back on the Chad Hasty Show. Appreciate you tuning in today. Different text coming in at 806-680-2790. That's 806-680-2790. Robert, back a little bit ago. Chad and Nick, just remember, you have to grow old, but you do not have to grow up. That's from Robert. Another text. Let's see. Bill Amarillo. Let me refresh everyone's memory. The person who has vetted Kamala's vice presidential pick is Eric Holder. That's true. Obama's first attorney general, the same man who started the hands up, don't shoot crap. There's the police officers who were killed in the Dallas ambush. There are some very no good people running America into turmoil. Self-appointed anointed one can save the world. You do have Eric Holder running. This is we talked about that last week, and you have a lot of the former Obama folks who are now involved in the Kamala Harris campaign. A lot of the former Obama people who are now, they've actually overthrown some of the Joe Biden folks who were helping Kamala Harris. So that's something to point out. Kamala Harris hasn't made her decision yet, or maybe Obama hasn't made his decision yet. But Kamala Harris has not made her VP selection just yet. Maybe it happens tomorrow. It's supposed to happen tomorrow, and we'll see if it actually does occur. Let's go back to the phones, and we've got HR. HR, what's happening today?
Hey, just real quick, thank you for taking my call. I wanted to point out two things that I think that may be going on, especially with the stock market, and I think that what's going to end up happening is political correctness is going to bankrupt this country. Well, what I'm looking at is, and what I'm thinking is that the reason the markets are going so crazy is because people believe that Kamala Harris could win this race. And I imagine that corporations and things like that, it scares them. And so that may be a reaction, could be wrong, could be right about that. One more thing. I think that Trump could really he's the one that can do it. It's time for an Anglo to stand up and say, just because I oppose the border being wide open, just because I oppose your views on America or whatever, don't mean that I am racist. And say it like this. All white people who disagree with black people on certain issues don't mean that they're racist. If there's anybody that can break out that campaign and really bring people out of the woodwork that haven't voted in a long time, that person, I believe, is Donald Trump. Because he speaks his mind. And that's my comment today.
Very good. HR, have a great day. Gordo weighed in with some of the same comments, at least on the stock market, saying the Japanese stock market crashed to its lowest in its history. Japanese market heavily reliant on the U.S. economy. Signs are pointing to crazy Kamala being elected, and the market's reacting. If she's elected, the stock market today is only going to get worse. Many will lose their jobs, and inflation will continue to increase. There is some of it that has to do with the fear that Kamala Harris could win this thing. It's a bit too early for that to be the complete reason why. You also have rising fears of a recession. Let's also not forget that there was a lot of money that was poured into the economy that's starting to go away. And so there's a few different things starting to add up here when it comes to the U.S. economy. It's not all just one. It's not all just Kamala Harris, but as the Kamala craze continues, and she looks to be in a very good position, the economy is going to, and the stock market's going to be shaky, very, very shaky. And so there's a lot of stuff starting to add up here that you've got to be really worried about. And I would say this: you've got to prepare for any scenario. You've got to be prepared for any scenario. For Kamala Harris to win, for Kamala Harris to lose, you've got to be prepared for it, because she could very well win this thing. I don't think she will. I think she's going to come crashing down to earth. I don't think she'll be able to stay on this high that she's had. I think eventually she will come crashing down to earth. But you've got to be prepared for everything. And I think if you want to see her come crashing down to earth, Trump, he's got to hammer away at policies, and he did a little bit of that over the weekend. Attacking the governor of Georgia, I don't think was the greatest thing to do. He's not your enemy right now. It's the vice president of the United States, and there's a lot to hammer away Kamala Harris on. And Trump did a lot of it over the weekend, but he's got to do a lot more of it. And Republicans overall have to do a lot more of it and really expose Kamala Harris for who she is. Yeah, we had one texter who said that they were, I think it was TW, who said that he was starting to feel nauseated with all the great Kamala coverage, and that he was almost wanting a civics test in order to vote. Let me tell you this, even if you had a test, it wouldn't stop the hoopla around Kamala Harris. There'd be a lot of people still going crazy for Kamala. When we come back, we've got some Kamala Harris audio that we'll play. We'll get to your phone calls and your text messages as well. You're on the Chad Hasty Show.
The Chad Hasty Show, a presentation of the Texas Town Square Media Network. The views and opinions expressed during the Chad Hasty Show are not necessarily the views of this station staff, management, advertisers, or Town Square Media. Broadcasting from the great state of Texas, this is The Chad Hasty Show. News and views with a Lone Star perspective. You can sound off during the show by sending Chad a text at 806-680-2790. That's 806-680-2790. Or call in at 1-800-687-0790. Now, here's Chad Hasty.
Back on The Chad Hasty Show, final hour of the program. A lot of text messages coming in, including one that sounds like an emergency. Texter, hey Chad, we left Amarillo a bit ago and just realized the Big Texan has good steaks. Can't turn back past Hereford. Any thoughts? Now, I'm not sure what your question exactly is here. It sounds like you're in an emergency situation looking for a steakhouse, but you're past Hereford, and you're also realizing that you're just too far away to turn around and go back to the Big Texan, which they do have good steaks there. There's a few good steak places there in Amarillo that you can go to that I have some thoughts on, but. Please clarify. If you're in a steak emergency, we could be able to help you out and find a good steakhouse for you to go to. Depending on, if you're past Hereford at this point, do you want to turn around and go back to Hereford, or do you want to continue in front of you? In which way you're going, we'll need to know that, and we can help you out if that's what you're asking. Another texter weighing in. Chad, thanks for covering the Middle East today. Currently, my wife is in Jordan. Flights are canceled because of the unrest. Right now, she's scheduled to fly out Wednesday, saying prayers that Iran will postpone the attacks until she flies out. And listeners, keep this texter's wife and family in your prayers. Again, you would hate to have someone in the Middle East right now with everything that's going on. And so our prayers out to that texter and his family. See another texter. Surely Kamala's mouth will get her in trouble. She can't keep it shut. Well, she's not being asked anything. She's not having to talk about policy. There was a great piece out today in National Review Let me try to pull it up real quick. The teleprompter campaign from Rich Lowry over at National Review. The basement campaign has been updated. Kamala Harris isn't in the cellar in the Naval Observatory campaigning via Zoom a la Joe Biden in 2020. No, she's speaking to adoring crowds fired up by pop stars. She's identifying herself with powerful cultural trends. She's clapping back at Trump with a panache. Indeed, in one of the great political transformations of our time, she's gone from a subpar vice president to the second coming of Barack Obama in about the space of 2 weeks. Except Obama was a genuine political talent who was glib enough to handle almost anything. Now, she's no Obama. That's true. For whatever you think of Obama, Obama could think on his feet. He wasn't a great speaker always when he had to think on his feet, but he could, and he could campaign. He could get out there and actually do a campaign and speak to reporters and answer questions. Kamala Harris can't do it. The people most aware that Kamala isn't truly a new version of Obama are the people around her who clearly fear putting her in any setting where she isn't reading from a script. Biden's basement campaign in 2020 kept him from having to go out and build a crowd, but he did interviews. Kamala's teleprompter campaign is meant to limit her exposure and to keep her from inadvertently bursting the media bubble that's been created around her. In that, her campaign may resemble the pre-debate Biden approach this year, more of his limited stumping in 2020. Biden's campaign this year obviously feared putting him in any setting where he'd be challenged, with his abysmal debate performance forcing him to do so anyway. The additional exposure resulted in a predictable disaster. Kamala's problem isn't messing up names or dates or losing train of thought, hallmarks of aging. Rather, she often ends up repeating the same, usually banal thought in slightly different words, so she expresses herself in an endless loop of thought. In one of her few off-script comments since her ascension, she explained last Friday why Joe Biden should get credit for the prisoner swap, in which she says this is just an extraordinarily testament to the importance of having a president who understands the power of diplomacy and understands the strength that rests in understanding the significance of diplomacy and strengthening alliances. For those keeping track, that's 3 understands, 2 diplomacies, 2 strengths in 1 sentence. All that she said is important that Biden understands diplomacy, but she didn't know how to land the plane after stating the simple idea in a brief sentence. The article goes on. It's a very good article, but it shows exactly what the left is doing. That Kamala Harris, she's not good off script. She was a very unpopular vice president, but the media has turned her into the new Obama. Maybe even more popular than Obama at this point. They have made her into one of the most popular candidates that we have seen in a very long time. Now, will she come crashing down to earth? There's a very good chance that she will, and I believe that she will. But it's going to have to be Trump that exposes her. It's going to have to be the Republicans who expose Kamala Harris, because the news media, unless they just get mad at Kamala Harris, the news media is not going to do it. And there's plenty of things to go after Kamala Harris on. How about this old video, this old piece of audio that came out earlier today where Kamala Harris was talking about woke?
You know, we have to stay woke. Like, everybody needs to be woke. And you can talk about if you're the wokest or woker, but just stay more woke than less woke. Yeah. You know.
Yeah, so she's, again, she She loves being woke. And she loves laughing at herself, too. We know that, too. Kamala Harris, there's so many. Every day there's new audio that is coming out about Kamala Harris. In her own words. She will be exposed. And I've seen many of you who have texted in. You're getting worried. You're worried about Kamala Harris's rise, and the fact that everyone is in love with Kamala right now, and all you hear are the great things about Kamala Harris. I tried to prepare you for this. That there's going to be a love affair for Kamala Harris for the next few weeks. The Democrats don't have their convention until August 19th. Tomorrow, Kamala Harris will probably announce who her vice presidential running mate is, who I believe will be Tim Walz. I think it'll be Tim Walz who is announced tomorrow. He's the governor of Minnesota. You can look him up. They're going to try to portray him as, Mr. Rural America, right down the middle. This is how the news media will try to portray him. And in fact, he'll probably do more interviews than Kamala Harris does. And the news media's excuse will be, well, we've got to have people figure out who Tim Walz is. They may know him in Minnesota, but they don't know him nationally. So again, this is Tim Walz will probably be announced tomorrow. There's going to be a honeymoon phase there. And then once they get to the convention, the Democrats will again put on a show. And it won't be as crazy as we thought it was going to be, because the Democrats, they're going to be united. If nothing else, they will look united. It may be a disaster outside of the Democrat convention, but inside, they're going to try to unite everyone and be on the same page and have a great time. Outside, it may be a dumpster fire. Outside of the arena, maybe a dumpster fire. You may have a bunch of protesting going on. But inside, it's all going to be about love and Kamala Harris and wokeism. It'll be about Kamala Harris prosecuting Trump, prosecuting the case to the American people. Tough on crime, Kamala Harris. This is how they'll try to portray her. Someone who can unify the nation. That's another thing that you will probably hear. So you're in for another 3 to 4 weeks of this. So just get ready. Buckle in. This is what you're going to get for the next 3 to 4 weeks. And then maybe after that, maybe after Labor Day weekend, getting into September, maybe that's when we'll start seeing the honeymoon phase wrap up. And we don't have long to go. We don't have long to go before people actually start casting ballots in this country. So this is why I said long ago, you did not want Joe Biden to drop out of this thing. There were a lot of people who were very excited about Joe dropping out. It was very historic. It was interesting watching the coup on Joe Biden. But let's be honest, there were a lot of people, a lot of Republicans who wanted Joe out of the race. Well, you got him out of the race. The Democrats played this perfectly. They played this perfectly to get rid of Joe, to install Kamala Harris. She didn't have to win a damn thing. And they knew the media would go along with this and they'd be fine with it, and no one was going to miss Joe Biden. and they could remake Kamala Harris, which is what they've done. They've been successful so far at rebranding Kamala Harris because nobody remembers what happened in 2019. People don't remember. The average person, you remember, I remember how much of a disaster Kamala Harris was when she ran for president. Most people don't remember that. Maybe a lot of people in your circle do. Maybe a lot of people you follow on Twitter do. But most Americans, the average American, they've got other crap going on. They don't remember who all ran for president in 2019. They don't remember on the Democrat side who all ran. They don't remember that Kamala Harris was a disaster. They don't remember what she stood for. They don't remember that she was rated the most liberal senator in 2019. They don't remember that stuff. The average American cannot remember that. Our attention span is like what, 15 seconds? You think people can remember? The average person can remember what happened in 2019? They can't. So that's why it's on you, it's on me, it's on Trump, it's on the Republican Party to expose who Kamala Harris is, her policies. I don't care about the race issue or her being a woman or any of that. It's the policies. The policies, that's what I care most about. Because if Kamala Harris is elected president, God help us. She will be an absolute disaster policy-wise for our nation. I mean, an absolute disaster policy-wise for our nation. 806-680-2790. When we come back, your phone calls, your text, and more.
The Chad Hasty Show can be heard all over West Texas, weekdays from 5 to 7 p.m. Tune in on News Talk 95.1 and 790 KFYO in Lubbock, News Talk 940 in Amarillo, News Talk 94.7 and 1470 KYYW in Abilene, and in Wichita Falls on News Talk 96.3 and 1290. The Chad Hasty Show. Make it a part of your drive home, weekdays from 5 to 7 p.m.
Clay Travis and Buck Sexton.
Tuesday edition, Clay Travis, Buck Sexton Show. Less than 3 months until the election is actually here. We probably are going to have a VP announced today, and we'll be able to break it all down for you. Plus, Buck.
The economy's gotten a little shaky under Biden. Is the free fall slowing down? Is the recovery happening? And how does this play out in that election we're talking about? That's coming up on Clay and Buck.
Clay Travis and Buck Sexton. Tomorrow morning at 11.
Back on the Chad Hasty Show. Thank you very much for tuning in today. You can send in your thoughts on the text line, 806-680-2790. Kim weighing in. If Kamala's elected, Obama will have his fourth term. We'll finish us off. Let's see. Another texter. The average American believes she's African American. And Paul from Post. Again, and I don't even care to get into that debate. I don't care. It's the policy that I care about. It's the policy. The fact that the AP said that she was the first Indian American or Asian American elected vice president. That's fine to talk about, but that's not going to win you an election. No one's going to give a damn at the end of the day. When it comes down to that argument, it's going to be policy. The average person, they look at Kamala Harris, and what they see from the media now is a rock star. That's what they see. And guess what? Americans like to vote for rock stars. They do. Remember the old polling that used to go around, who would you rather have a beer with? And they would ask people, hey, why are you going to vote for that, this presidential candidate over here? Well, I feel like I could have a beer with them. There are a lot of people I feel like I could have a beer with that I would never vote for president of the United States. Tim Walz, he's the governor of Minnesota. Nick, did you get that audio? And he's doing a big fundraiser tonight for Kamala Harris. It's expected. The latest reports is that it's down to Shapiro, the governor out of Pennsylvania, and Tim Walz of Minnesota. There's been a lot of pushback from those on the left of Shapiro because of his religion. And Walz is kind of seen as the rural safe guy. Now remember, they're going to position Tim Walz, if he's the one selected, as the moderate candidate. Listen to what he just said. This was actually relatively soon, or relatively new audio, when they had the white guys for Harris call in just about, I think it was last week. Here's what he had to say.
But we can get out there, reach out, make the case. And for one thing, don't ever shy away from our progressive values. One person's socialism is another person's neighborliness.
Oh, that's the moderate. That's the moderate Democrat. One person's socialism is another person's neighborliness. That's the moderate that Kamala Harris could pick in the Democrat Party. He's not a moderate. His state burned. When he was was he the mayor back during the riots when Minneapolis burned? I think he may have been the mayor. I know governor when they ripped down the Christopher Columbus statue and he allowed it to happen. So this guy's all about Black Lives Matter movement. He's all about playing the race card. He's all about, one person's socialism and another person's neighborliness. No, I don't think so. So this idea that Kamala Harris is trying to find a moderate, well, there's one reason she's trying to, at least in theory, is because she's a far leftist. And whoever she picks, there's not a moderate left. Remember, he says, don't be ashamed of our progressive values. You don't hear the moderates saying that. We'll be right back.
The Chad Hasty Show, weekdays 5 to 7 p.m. Sound off during the show by sending Chad a text at 806-680-2790. Today's markets from the Texas Department of Ag.
Well, howdy, neighbors. Rough day today. Texas feeder cattle auctions down, reporting prices steady to $5 lower. Cattle futures are down. August live cattle futures closed at $181.55. August feeder cattle futures down $5.65 to close at $244.100. October cotton futures down, closed at $66.55. September wheat futures up a penny, closed at $5.60 a bushel. September corn up a nickel, closed at $3.91, and August soybean futures up 15 cents, closed at $10.44 a bushel. August soybean meal futures down 80 cents, closed at $360.70 per ton. August class 3 milk futures down 8 pennies, closed at $20.22 a hundred. September crude oil futures down 17 cents, trading at $73.70 a barrel. The Dow Jones was down a record 1,333 points, closed at 38,703. And that's a market roundup from the Texas Department of Agriculture. I'm your commissioner, Sid Miller. And remember, friends, Texas agriculture matters. Sold.
The news and talk of West Texas. News Talk 95.1 and 790 KFYO. Don't you forget about Chad at Chad Hasty Radio on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and on your radio. Now back to the Chad Hasty Show.
All right, back on the Chad Hasty Show. Appreciate you tuning in today. Story out of the New York Post. The headline today, why Pennsylvania Dems are split on whether Kamala Harris should pick Shapiro as her VP pick. A lot of Democrats in Pennsylvania are big fans of Governor Josh Shapiro, but not all of them want Kamala Harris to make him her vice presidential pick. Story goes on to talk about Democrats, national Democrats, not sold on Shapiro. He's 51, broadly popular in Pennsylvania, but his views on school choice and the Israel-Hamas war have alienated him from many on the left, including the founders of No Genocide Josh campaign, which seeks to discredit the governor for his support of Israel. See, this is where the left is these days, folks. If you're gonna be on the ticket and you want to have this kumbaya moment at the Democrat convention, you can't have Josh Shapiro, because then you're going to get all the pro-Hamas protesters protesting right outside the building, maybe even get them inside the building. And if you want to put on a show for the media and you want the media to talk about how great and wonderful the Democrat Party is now, that they've come together, you can't have the pro-Hamas protesters show up. Just one of the reasons why I think it's going to be this Waltz guy out of Minnesota. Defenders of Shapiro, who is Jewish, say many of the attacks against him are rooted in anti-Semitism, as other VP shortlisters have not been subjected to the same scrutiny for their support of Israel. Oh, they're right. But, that's what you have on the left these days. It's pro-Hamas. John Fetterman, the senator from Pennsylvania, reportedly warned Harris about the extent of Shapiro's presidential ambitions, concerns other detractors have as well. Shapiro's office has also been hit with a sexual harassment scandal, prompting the Pennsylvania treasurer nominee to float North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper for VP, but he removed himself from consideration. So again, for Kamala Harris, this may be enough to steer her away and Eric Holder away from picking the Shapiro guy. Now, I forgot. We got to get to this audio from Nancy Pelosi. I guess it was over the weekend. You had Nancy Pelosi interviewed by CBS, and Leslie Stahl doing the interview. And she asked Nancy Pelosi just about Joe Biden overall. This is what Nancy Pelosi had to say about Joe Biden.
In a good place to make whatever decision, top of his game. Such a consequential president of the United States, a Mount Rushmore kind of president of the United States. Want to know what comes next.
That he belongs up there on Mount Rushmore. Lincoln and Joe Biden.
But you got Teddy Roosevelt up there, and he's wonderful. I don't say take him down, but you can add Biden.
Yeah, even the CBS News person is like, come on. Biden on Mount Rushmore? Come on. There's no way. No way you're serious about adding Joe Biden to Mount Rushmore. I mean, could you just, you got George Washington. Think of just all the presidents we've had. You got Washington, you got Jefferson, you got Roosevelt, you've got Lincoln. Biden? That guy, granted, in the condition he's in, a head full of rocks is about as bright as he is right now. But that doesn't mean he needs to be on the mountain. I mean, can we throw a Reagan out there? Anybody? Can we do? If we're gonna put someone else up on the mountaintop, what do you can we throw maybe a Ronald Reagan in there? Not Joe. No. A consequential president. I applied. I think it was Leslie Stahl with CBS News. She almost started laughing her. She almost broke down. I mean, no one can take Nancy Pelosi seriously on that. That Joe Biden should be up on Mount Rushmore. The Daily Beast saying Nancy Pelosi has how they put this? Nancy Pelosi makes wild new proposition, put Biden on Mount Rushmore. Nancy Pelosi went in for the kill on Joe Biden to get him to drop out of the race. And now she's saying, "Oh yeah, let's put him on Mount Rushmore. He's a great candidate, to be up on Mount Rushmore." I don't think so. I don't think anyone's taking that seriously. 806-680-2790. When we come back, we'll begin to wrap things up. We've got a couple more news stories to get to. Your phone calls, your text, and more when we return.
The Titan of Texas Talk Radio, Chad Hasty.
Talking with newsmakers and about the issues that matter to you. The Chad Hasty Show, weekdays from 5 to 7 p.m. Chad's show is also digital with the Chad Hasty Show podcast. The Chad Hasty Show podcast can be downloaded on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, and the Radio On Demand page at KFYO.com. The Chad Hasty Show, all across Texas during your drive home, weekdays from 5 to 7 p.m.
Clay Travis and Buck Sexton.
Tuesday edition, Clay Travis, Buck Sexton Show. Less than 3 months until the election is actually here. We probably are going to have a VP announced today, and we'll be able to break it all down for you. Plus, Buck.
The economy's gotten a little shaky under Biden. Is the free fall slowing down? Is the recovery happening? And how does this play out in that election we're talking about? That's coming up on Clay and Buck.
Clay Travis and Buck Sexton, tomorrow morning at 11.
Don't ask me what you know is true. Don't have to tell you.
All right, back on the Chad Hasty Show.
I love your precious heart.
On the app chat, had a listener, David, wondering if I've seen any of the videos out of the UK. Yeah, it's very disturbing what's happening right now in the UK. The popular news media there and the government, I guess the official story that they're trying to tell people is that you have a bunch of these far right protesters who are protesting immigration in the UK. What they're not telling you is that these protesters are not far right. They are protesting those who have not assimilated into British culture, and they are protesting there are these, at least one Muslim group who has called for Sharia law. And obviously the UK said, no, we're not going to do that. And they have taken to masking themselves and attacking some of these British citizens. And all you have to do is go on to YouTube, on any of the social media sites out there, and you will see British civilians, citizens being attacked in their vehicles and in protest lines, and you have and they're being attacked by these armed Muslim groups. Over the weekend, you had major protests throughout the UK, and now you have the government threatening to arrest those who are protesting. And the protesters are protesting illegal immigration. They're protesting the fact that the UK has just let all of these folks into the country. And assimilation is not asked for. It's, hey, you go off and, create your own little zones. And we've talked about for a while, what was the term years ago? Londonistan. And it's gotten even worse throughout the UK. And it's, I just saw a tweet, and again, it's very, very true. Never give up your Second Amendment rights. And it shows this car just absolutely, this driver just being attacked in his own vehicle by these extremists who are being allowed to attack British citizens. And, again, this is not making international news. You really have to be on the lookout for it. You have to be searching for it in order to find it. You have to be paying attention to social media as well. I will say this, as bad as social media is at times, and it is bad, it does allow us to see what's happening throughout the world. It allows us to see that things are getting really, really bad. They've been getting bad in the UK. They're getting even worse now, and you've got the British government. They're going along with this, and they're arresting their own citizens for just protesting illegal immigration. And so, yeah, that's something to keep an eye on for sure, because I think you're going to see more protest out of all of this. 806-680-2790. The UK is not Texas. No, it's not. It is. We have rights here. We are allowed to have. But look, that's the point is you cannot. You can't let go of these rights. You cannot let the left, even for just take a little bit, because when they take your guns, when they take your ability to fight back against a tyrannical government, which is what the Second Amendment is about, you lose your power. You lose your power. You lose your power to defend yourselves, your family, your property. You lose it all. And that's when the government has complete control over you. It's exactly what the left wants. It's exactly what Kamala Harris wants. She endorsed this back in 2019, an AR-15 gun buyback program. She wants to have an executive order that would ban the sale of the AR-15. This is how far left she is. On the app chat again, it's from Bill in Amarillo, weighing in on the app chat. Chad, very well said about focusing on Kamala Harris's policies. I heard Trump over the weekend thought he had a great rally, but was annoyed that he kept taking shots at the governor of Georgia. That's not needed at this point. The governor of Georgia is a Republican. We need all Republicans on board with Trump, and Trump to leave other Republicans alone. Focus on Kamala, and that's it. Bill, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. Again, this is, Trump still has the easiest way to victory right now. But the media is going to do all they can to erase that and to make Kamala Harris the darling and to help Kamala Harris win this thing. And how she loses by exposing what she believes. (806-680-2790). That's 806-680-2790. Let's see. By the way, go ahead and give us a follow and subscribe on the podcast. Podcast will drop soon after the show. And for those who may have missed our good friend Harry Kazianis on with us, we'll have that available, of course, on the podcast. You can take a listen to, and you can spread the podcast out to friends and family, loved ones, and more online. And of course, you can download the podcast anywhere you get podcasts from, any of the big platforms that you get podcasts from. Let's go to the phones. And Eric, what's going on?
Hey, how are you doing?
Doing great. How are you?
Good. Quick question. What does the Europe issue, the disruption that's going on, the havoc that's been created, what does that have to do with the vacuum of faith that's occurred over there? And what do we need to learn from that here in Texas and the United States?
Eric, I'd love to get into it, but you're calling at the very end of the show. I will save that for tomorrow because it's a great question. So I'll save it for tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being out there in Abilene. Have a great day.
You bet. Thank you.
I just can't answer that question in like 30 seconds. I guess I'll put it in a nutshell. It has a lot to do with it. A lot. And we should absolutely be learning lessons from what we see in Europe playing out. What we won't, because most people are not paying attention to it. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Stay safe, stay healthy. God bless you all. We'll see you back here tomorrow at 5 p.m.
The Chad Hasty Show, a presentation of the Texas Town Square Media Network. The views and opinions expressed during the Chad Hasty Show are not necessarily the views of this station staff, management, advertisers, or Town Square Media.